Hi, I'm Kari.
And I'm Kimberly, and this is Coffee and Cocoa, a podcast about reconstructing your family after they've deconstructed their faith.
We are a mother and daughter having conversations from both sides of the faith divide. So, do you have a testimony today?
I do. I'm going to bear my testimony about The Pit, the TV show, as an
Oh,
auditory experience. Have you watched it?
I have not. Is it
Okay.
on Apple? What's it on?
It's on HBO.
Oh, okay.
And true to HBO form, they really push the rating. It's very gory because it's an emergency room situation.
Uh-huh.
And we do great with gore. Our gag reflex is not great. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
put me or one of my sisters or my mom or grandma in a
Mm-hmm.
situation,
No, thank you.
yeah, like we will be going so easily. So I really want to watch the show because everyone's talking about it and talking how amazing it is. So I was like, okay, let me just try. And I put it on my phone while I got ready. So I'm just kind of like looking over, glancing over, seeing the characters.
Ah,
Like the gore hasn't affected me at all because I just am getting ready. Like I look away. It's a great auditory experience. Like I'm really excited to know all the drama. The squelching gets a little much sometimes, but
ugh.
it's been okay. It
Uh-huh.
hasn't been too much. It's a great auditory experience. I
Okay.
would recommend not to watch it, but to listen to it.
Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, I guess that there's an argument to be made for art being true to life or whatever like that, but I'm all, stuff I don't need to see.
Yeah, for some people, that's the draw.
Right. Which,
I think that there's some argument to be made. Like I think that it can be used well.
uh-huh.
And I assume that they use it well because a lot of people like it, but I just can't handle it. It
Yeah,
doesn't add to my experience.
that's fair. Okay, I'm going to bear my testimony about karaoke. How about that? Um,
Yeah.
we just had a karaoke night last night, and it was like a Broadway themed karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a show on London's West End
Mm-hmm.
that's called The Role I'll Never Play, and it's just like I just follow it on social media, but it's like white people singing a song that isn't a role for a black person, or a man singing a song that's in a role for a woman. The
Mm-hmm.
thing, things that you would never have the opportunity to play, you go and
I
sing the
think I've
song.
seen this. Like I've seen a really skinny person singing "Good Morning Baltimore," and it's
Right, right, right.
I
Yeah,
don't fit the casting for this role.
yeah. But I love this
Hmm.
song. So we kind of riffed on that and we did a karaoke night called I'll Never Be on Broadway or whatever. And just everybody was supposed to bring a song that they would love to play on Broadway that they'll probably never have an opportunity to get out there. And it was just karaoke, but it was super
Yeah,
fun. We had such a good time.
I
And
love a good karaoke night.
yeah, yeah. I haven't done a whole lot of karaoke,
That's
but
because you don't drink. If you drink,
I
you do more
know.
karaoke.
Well, and I was thinking that last night because, of course, it's in a little bar and stuff,
Hmm.
and there were people drinking. I'm like, this probably would be more fun if I had a few less inhibitions. Like they look like they're really having
Yeah,
a good time, but
I think I've also gone to a bar and just not been drinking that night and done karaoke, and it's still fun.
yeah.
It's just karaoke happens where people are drinking for the most
Oh,
part.
is that what it is? That's
Yeah.
funny.
But
Yeah.
what song did you do?
I actually didn't do a song, but I had fun watching. I know. Don't be mad at me. There was a
I'm not
lot
mad
of
at you. I'm just
people.
disappointed.
Oh, I was going to take that part out, but now we have to keep it in. No, we're hoping to do it like a quarterly thing.
Yeah.
And
So next
so
time.
yeah, so next time I will. But
No, I get it. If there's a lot of people, you're trying to give space for everyone.
yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
But so Easter was last week and I just was thinking about the whole, because a lot of our holidays are just very religious and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And I know that that's changed the experience for you, and having
Hmm.
kids out of the church has changed the experience for me. But I wanted to just start by asking, what do you remember about Easter growing up? Like, what were your experiences? And
See, I feel like Easter is an easy one because all the fun parts aren't related to church, really. They're
I
not
know.
really related to religion or church. I
Mm,
remember hunting for eggs. We always did that.
Mhm.
Do you know what I love that our family does is dad always dyes an egg like in every dye and creates like a
Yes.
brown or a gray or a dark purple egg. And then because of the color, it's harder to find. And so whoever finds it gets a special prize. And honestly, I don't even remember what the different prizes are for finding it because it's mostly the status symbol of I found where dad hid the egg. Like he does it so he makes it so hard. Like
That's so funny.
but that's a good one. We got baskets, dressing up for church. Oh, there's
Hmm.
some really good pictures that I was looking at the other day of all of us in front of the house, and I would remember I was in a green dress and I had that white hat that went with it.
Yes.
That was so cute, and I think my sisters were matching. It was just like really cute. So we did
Hmm.
the whole dress up and go to church. And also, we always had ham and yummy potatoes, which are called funeral potatoes by most people, but we call them yummy potatoes. Or we would have roast if we were at grandma's house.
Yes.
Remember?
That's so funny because we went to grandma's house last weekend and she cooked roast one day and ham the next day.
And honestly,
And
I've
it
been
was,
eyeing some crock pots on Facebook Marketplace because you have to be really careful in New York with what appliances you get because there's so little
little
space.
space.
And so, like, I don't have a toaster because I don't eat toast that often. And if I do, I can just like make it the old fashioned way.
Hmm.
But I have been eyeing a crock pot just to make a roast because I'm like, that is a solid meal. Right. I was going to say, of course, I remember all of the religious stuff around it. That's just like not the fun part of it and wasn't.
Right.
Whereas I think something like Christmas, a lot of the stuff that I did like was like particularly religious music really speaks to
Mm,
me. So, but Easter's an easy one.
interesting. Yeah. So what I remember like raising you guys is that Easter was always kind of a disappointment because it is so cold here on Easter. And like
Hmm.
I grew up in Henderson, which is right by Vegas. In Henderson, it was very warm on Easter. It was really beautiful outside. It was a great time for picnics. We did outdoor Easter egg hunts. We always had a picnic with like all of my aunts and uncles and grandparents, and we it was a huge thing. And sometimes we would actually go to Zion National Park because my grandparents had a second home up there. And everybody would go up there and spend time. And it was warm and beautiful. And I was always so frustrated when we would have Easter in Elko because it was so cold all the time. I remember like dressing you up in all these cute little Easter dresses and you like freezing to death because, short
Putting the
sleeves and
coat
everything.
over it.
Yes. And you want it to be warm, but it's not. So that's funny.
Yeah. It was
But
warmer
yeah.
in Elko this week, by the way, than in New York. And I was looking in jealousy because I'm struggling
Oh.
the same way you're saying, where I'm like, but it's supposed to be warm.
But your trees are blooming and stuff. That's so fun.
Yes. And it is still cold, which is hard.
Oh. I know spring is kind of the worst season for that reason because you want it to be warm so bad, and most of the time
Mhm.
it's cold.
And the worst part is it's my favorite season, but it's like an abusive relationship. Like the good times,
Right.
the good days are just so fabulous and you're like life has never been better. Like I was riding my bike down the West
Oh,
Side Highway. There were blossoms. There's daffodils that are planted on the side.
oh,
Smelled good. Like I
yeah.
could smell them. It was warm. I was next to the ocean. I was like, there's never been a better day. And then it was just so cold. It was like 30 degrees the next day.
It is. That is so real. Yeah, an abusive relationship. That's hilarious.
Keeps me hanging on for the good days.
Anyways, religiously though, like I mean, because we did go to church
Hmm.
always on Easter. Well, except for when it was conference weekend, which it was a conference weekend pretty often. Um,
Yeah. But like then we would watch conference together, which
mhm.
conference weekends I will say are like a holiday I do miss. Like I miss having an excuse of like, this is our weekend where we just sit in a blanket all day and there's cinnamon
Yeah,
rolls. And there's like no equivalent really except to just decide
right.
to do that. But I to your and dad's credit, like I was a kid, so I remember the fun stuff, but we did discuss Christ a lot. And I remember that there was an effort put in to like keep everything Christ centered for both like Easter and Christmas, which are the
Mhm.
major religious holidays
Yeah.
Christians practice.
That's an interesting balance because there was one lady in our ward. who, like for Christmas, she would only put symbols of Christ on their Christmas tree. Their tree was entirely decorated in some symbols of Christ. And she,
Hmm.
like, there was nothing to do with Santa Claus. I don't remember if they did gifts or not.
It was so Christ focused.
Yes, it's just funny how like we all find our balance of things because I'm like, no, that's way too religious, right? But I definitely
Hmm.
wanted some religion in it.
Well, and I can definitely empathize with like the want to be as perfect as possible or as like
Um,
true to this Christ you believe in as possible.
well, so the last few years, there's been a push in the church to put more emphasis on Easter because it always has been kind of a secondary holiday to Christmas or something like that, like
Hmm.
not as big of a deal.
Hmm.
And the church really has tried to encourage us to make it a bigger deal.
Let me know if I'm stepping on your toes, but I'm really glad we're discussing this because I noticed this year
Hmm.
every single Mormon on my feed was posting about Palm Sunday
Yeah,
and Good Friday. And I was like, we didn't practice that. Like,
yeah.
that was not a thing growing up.
Yeah, it's been an interesting kind of a new emphasis, and I like it. It's cool. I have enjoyed the more traditional Christian representations of like, okay, this is the Holy Week, and this is what
Hmm.
happened on this day and what we're celebrating. That's the other funny thing about Easter is it's like Easter eggs and also state-sanctioned murder, right? Because
Right.
it is about the death of Christ and the resurrection, which is the celebration part, but definitely the fact that he was brutally killed and then
Well, isn't it because it's same with Christmas? Like, they're combined with popular, like, pagan holidays at the time. So
yeah,
this
something like
is
that.
because
Yeah.
all of the fertility symbols of Easter are because
Right.
it's spring, like eggs, rabbits,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and that's an idea I've been playing with lately is that we're talking about the same things in different language, right? Because it's all about like renewal and rebirth and the
Hmm.
cycles of things. And in Christianity, it's that Christ rose from the dead. Well, spring is about the world rising basically from the death, and that's also
Hmm.
what like the pagan rituals were about coming back to
Growing
life.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember growing up, there was a heavy emphasis more in the church, like on the atonement than on the actual crucifixion, because the atonement was like Christ paying for our sins and all of that. Like, that's why the church doesn't, or used to not, wear crosses or have cross symbols. But I heard that that's changed.
Yeah.
So I do, with that, I mean, with the end of winter, like we're discussing, and like the beginning of spring and the renewal, I think that that goes hand in hand with the idea of an atonement of a bad things happen and we'll get through and it's okay. And it's
Yeah.
a cycle. And no matter how
Mhm.
harsh the winter is, like, you can begin again.
Yeah. I guess I wanted to ask you, like, what do you believe about Jesus Christ at this point?
Yeah, I that's interesting because I've actually been like looking into a lot of stuff about how we recorded things for years and
Hmm.
how we lost records of things. And what I found was that a lot of the historical records that we don't have are simply because whatever paper or organic fiber that they were written on or kept on just didn't last, right? Like,
Mm.
we're like papyrus, it just didn't last. And you had to have people copy all of these histories down. And the reason that we have like the Bible and that survived so long is because the people who were picking what got kept and what was important enough
Hmm.
to write down and keep were religious people, were
Hmm.
like monks. And so I do think that Christ was probably an influential person at some point.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that as the stories were repeated and then written down and then copied down, a lot
Hmm.
was lost and a lot of people put on their own agendas into
Hmm.
what he said, and that's kind of just human nature. Um, so I don't believe that he was a god or the son of
Hmm.
a god, but I do believe that he was an influential person who probably taught some morality things, and around that there were these myths created.
Hmm.
Um, So I kind of view like biblical stories as a whole the same that like people view like Greek mythology. Like it's a
Yeah.
mythology and it says more about the people who believe it than actual historical record.
I think it's really interesting because usually most people really love the teachings of Jesus Christ, whether or not
Hmm.
they believe that he was the Son of God, right? Because he taught
Yeah.
some really, really beautiful things.
Hmm.
It's interesting how people pick and choose the different things that they think were the most important things that he said or that we have recorded that he said, how they use those things a lot of times to justify bad behavior.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's always interesting to me. But kind of to your point, like that's kind of how I view scripture anymore. Like God never wrote anything with his hand, right? Like God,
Yeah.
even if you believe that Jesus Christ was God on earth, he actually never
Yeah.
wrote anything down, right?
Hmm.
People were just writing the things that he said. So right there, it's going through at least one human mind that's going to have some interpretation of it. Right.
Hmm.
And then with the Bible, we have, like you said, what was included and what was excluded in all of these things, like how all of these things were put together, all of these different books and different stories were all put together
Hmm.
into the Bible and stuff. And then um, and it's not that like it doesn't even make very much sense to me to say, okay, is the Bible true?
Hmm.
Because, like, what does that even mean? Does it mean that it's like accurate to what the people wrote? Did they tell an accurate story? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just
Hmm.
so many layers to what it means to
Yeah.
for it to be true. And
Even
so,
like the differences between like the Torah and the Old Testament, it's crazy. Like it proves that there's so much interpretation that goes into it.
right, right. Even if we assume that the records that we have are correct to the people that wrote them after all of these translations, like people interpret and people are wrong and people sometimes just lie, right? Or people make
Hmm.
things up to embellish to make a point and that kind of stuff. We tell
Hmm.
stories in different ways to make the points that we're going to
Hmm.
make. And so, like, I guess what I'm saying, like the idea of is it true is not necessarily that useful. Does
Yeah.
does that make sense the way that I'm saying it?
Yeah. I think that line of thinking does get you down like dangerous roads. Like we do have to have ways to tell if things are true or not.
Sure.
But I think that when we're talking about something that was written so long ago, like we do have ways to prove that like this literally didn't happen for things like the entire flooding of the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
those things we can prove or not. But I see what you mean by like when it's that far long ago, it doesn't really matter if it really happened or not. It's what does that mean to you?
Yeah. If I read this story in the scriptures, how do I use that to do good things in the world, right? To
Mhm.
organize my life, to make the world a better place. Like that
Mhm.
to me is what really matters about these kinds of things. There's an LDS Bible scholar who's really fascinating to listen to, and his name is Dan McClellan. But his whole approach is called data. Well, he just says data over dogma, right?
Mm.
Like this is what the data support. But one of the ideas that this was the quote that I was looking for, and I could not find it. But he said something along the lines of like you're never going to be able to prove that miracles are true
Mhm.
because there's always a more likely explanation,
Yes.
even if that explanation is just that the person who reported the miracle was just lying.
They don't have falsification.
It's really hard to prove something doesn't exist or didn't happen,
Mhm.
right? And so anytime something like that comes up, you have to just admit that you're taking that on faith to
Mhm.
me, right? You have to just
Yeah.
admit, okay, I'm believing this because I want to believe it. It's not the most likely thing to happen, but I'm believing it because I choose to believe it. And I
Mhm.
think that that's a really interesting approach to religion and really
Mhm.
useful approach to religion because then you can ask questions like, okay, why am I choosing to believe this? Why do
Mhm.
I want to believe this?
No, I like that. And I like that we're having this conversation because I was reading a book called Separation of Church and Hate. And it went over a lot of like
Mm.
Christ's teachings and what he meant versus like how it's taken now. It was political, but
Hmm.
it quoted the Bible, and that was probably the most of the Bible that I've read outside of doing this podcast in a
Uh-huh.
long time. And I was like, I do agree with a lot of these teachings. And I do choose to believe that someone somewhere thought that this was important enough to write down and say, hey, this is a moral law that we should all agree on. Like, as a society, we should agree, like, that we should love our neighbor or
Hmm.
things like that. Or he who is without sin should cast the first stone. Like, things like that are very good, like, just morals to live by.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. And with miracles, I don't believe in them, but I can see like it's important to say, I'm choosing to, and here's why.
Right. And so specifically with Christ, like I do choose to believe that Christ was the Son of God because I really love the idea that if there is a God, that God cared about us so much that they didn't just send us off into the world and be like, okay, good luck, have fun, but that
Mm-hmm.
they came to experience what we're experiencing so that he could understand and know how to help us through those things. Like
Hmm.
that to me is a really beautiful idea. I don't know for sure that it's true. Like there could literally be nothing after we live through this world and we won't know till we get there. And so for me
Hmm.
to say like I know that this is true doesn't make sense to me anymore. But I love believing that there is a higher power in the universe that loves me and cares about me so much that they were willing to suffer with me in my
Hmm.
suffering.
Yeah, I do like that.
And I love the idea that we will continue to exist after this life, right? Like
Hmm.
I hope that that's true. I have no
Hmm.
idea for sure. I
Hmm.
don't know if I will, see my grandma again after I die. I hope
Hmm.
that I will, though. And I love
Yeah.
believing that I will. I love believing that she still exists somewhere as an individual who cares about me. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, that's just kind of my musing about Easter. And like in general, that's kind of how I've been trying to approach religion in my life is just like, okay, why do I believe this? What do I think about it? What are the consequences of believing in this?
Hmm.
And how does it encourage me to live my life?
Hmm.
And just kind of evaluating things that way.
Yeah, I like that. I think that I look again, like I look at it like any like myth, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And I do like to see like what does this teach us about ourselves and what does the fact that so many people have believed this for so long
Hmm.
mean? And I do
Yeah.
like the idea, like you said, that we believe that if there is a creator who created us, that they care deeply about us.
Yeah.
And we also believe generally, not always in practice, but generally,
Hmm.
Christians believe that every soul is important to God and that every person is individually important and
Yeah.
loved and has intrinsic value as a soul and as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's like evaluating that, like that creates good things in the world, right? Like
Yeah.
it leads us to treat each other better, at least theoretically. It leads us to think that we should treat each other with
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah. And I would much rather live in a society where we all believe that each individual is worthy and important and valuable just because of themselves as an individual, like not because of any outside thing.
Hmm.
Um, I will say though, very tough in practice. Very I don't believe that every Christian practices that.
No, and to be honest, like I don't practice it as well as I could, right? Like I don't
Hmm.
value every human being as much as I value myself. And like it's something that's really, really hard to do, but it's a
Hmm.
good thing to strive towards, right?
Yeah.
To having concern for each other. So,
Yeah. I have questions about Easter. So, like I said, I noticed that there has been a difference in how the church is like advertising, I guess, Easter. That's not the best
mhm.
word, but like uh, when members are all reposting the same thing, I'm like, well, this is
Right.
an
Yeah.
ad. Like,
The church is definitely putting out content about
content.
Easter.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
So, can you tell me, like, on the inside, like, what has been the messaging? What has it looked like? Because it is different than when I was growing up.
Yeah. It's just it's just focusing more on the life and death of Jesus Christ.
Because I know when I was in the church, like they don't celebrate Ash Wednesday or Good Friday or Palm Sunday. Were those holidays observed actively, or was it just the posts on social media?
Um, as far as like putting ashes on your forehead and that kind of thing, they did not
Oh, I did
do
not
that.
see that. If I start seeing
No.
Mormon girls with their crosses on their forehead, I'm going to
Yeah.
lose it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that is appropriation.
That is, that's a different
I
thing.
have Catholic friends. That is not the same thing.
No, they did put out some social media stuff,
Hmm.
but no, they've largely kind of just encouraged the different local congregations to do their own thing, but
Okay.
encourage them to put more emphasis on it. So like Palm Sunday this year, because Easter did fall on General Conference weekend,
Hmm.
which it does about half the time. I don't know exactly how that works, but um, about half the time Easter comes on conference weekend. And
And in case
so,
anyone doesn't know what General Conference is, it is every 6 months the church has a special session that's Saturday and Sunday, and everybody stays home and they watch the special session that's broadcast. It's done in Salt Lake City, and all of the like church presidency basically speaks.
yeah, the general leadership. So it's the quorum of the 12 apostles, the first presidency, the General Relief Society presidency, and primary presidency. And they usually get a couple women in there.
I did see that. I do watch some reviews of General Conference that like
Uh,
ex-Mormons put out, or like people that are like physically in, mentally out, like things like that. But I did see they were like, and we got our second talk and it was a woman.
yeah. So because General Conference fell on Easter, we did do the Sunday before, which is Palm Sunday. They did a like an Easter program, and we
Hmm.
did. I mean, they just basically talked about Easter, but we did like a lot of songs around the Savior and stuff. And
Mm.
I have to say that is one of my very favorite things about church is the music. Like I do love gospel music
I do
and
miss
and
that.
hymns.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not gospel music, but music about the gospel.
yeah, that's true.
I love gospel music too, but not
Yeah,
what's being played in LDS
no,
churches.
no, they put out a bunch of new hymns, and they
Mhm.
have some gospel ones in there.
New hymns?
Yeah, have
Have
I
to hear
not told you about
these.
this?
No, I didn't know they dropped new hymns.
They're doing a new hymn book,
Oh,
but it hasn't. But they've been saying that they were going to do it since before COVID, and so it's just kind of like, okay, what's going on? So a couple of years ago, they started just releasing. They like release like 10 at a time of these new ones that are going to go in, and it's fun because they have some of the ones that have been very Christian hymns that we haven't had in our hymn book. Like, my favorite is "It Is Well with My Soul."
mm.
That's a
I've heard
great
that one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that one is in our hymn book now, and then oh, Amazing Grace, because that's never been in our hymn book. But they have a couple of different ones that have kind of a gospel vibe to them.
Ah,
They put
that's so
in,
fun.
yeah, they put in This Little Light of Mine. So the primary
They
did this little,
did.
yeah, they did, which does kind of feel like appropriation a little bit, but also I love it, so I'm not gonna.
No, it's such a cute one.
There's one called "I'm Gonna Live So God Can Use Me," and it's a very it's a very gospel
That's
hymn.
cute.
But yeah,
I
no.
didn't know that. I'm so excited about these new hymns.
You can go online and listen to them if you
The
want.
church did a new drop. I'm so excited.
There's
Um,
there's another one that I really love called "My Shepherd Will Provide My Needs,"
mm,
and the last line of it is "No more a stranger or a guest, but like a child at home."
mm,
And I just
this is
love
really
that
cute.
line, like because that's how I want to feel in
Yeah.
church, right? Is to feel like we belong together,
Hmm.
we're cared for here, and we're
Yeah.
loved here. I don't know why that made me weepy.
Well, it's interesting because the first hymn book was created that like basically used like general Christian hymns. Like we have a lot of overlap with other beliefs. And then we
Yeah.
have some specific Mormon ones that talk about like the first vision or if you could hi Tekola, which
Yeah.
is, you know, so I can't believe that it took them so long to update it, but
Well, I don't know, because when I was a kid, we had a brown hymnal that was smaller than the
mhm.
green one. I think I was in high school when they came out with the green one that
But that's
you
what I'm
grew up with.
saying. That's like
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. But yeah, it's supposed to come out, I think, 2027 with all of the songs. But I'm really interested to see how they're going to do it because they're putting all of the primary songs in it too. Like there's just going to be
Oh,
one songbook. Sorry, this is probably like not great
I'm so
podcast fodder.
interested. It's okay. I'm so interested.
Um, but they're putting them all, so I don't know if it's just going to be like a ginormous hymnal or if they're going to put it in volumes, or I'm very interested to see how this is all going to go down. But
Yeah, it's gonna fit in the back of the pew.
yeah,
Gonna Hulk it out.
yeah.
I was gonna ask, what's your favorite Easter hymn?
My favorite Easter hymn. I love For the Beauty of the Earth, which is not really an Easter hymn, but it's a spring hymn for
See,
me.
mine's a spring one too, and I thought we were gonna say the same one. But I
What?
do love For the Beauty of the Earth. I love, what is it? The Consider the Lilies of the Field.
Oh, I do love that one too.
The
That
Motown
one's
version
not
of
in the
that
hymn
goes
book.
hard. It's not in the hymn book.
No, I don't know if they'll put it in that one but
I
no,
really
that one's
like,
such.
okay, hymn wise, I'd have to look. It's not fresh on my
Yeah, see, that's the
mind.
thing is that the one that always comes to mind is He is risen.
He is risen. He is. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a little too jolly for
It's
me.
very aggressive. It's very aggressive, and then the other part of it is that's like anytime anybody sleeps late at Gramps' house, when you get up, then he
Yes,
sings that. And so
yes.
that's like my main.
I actually I want to look up some of the Easter hymns now because
They came out with some good new ones.
ah,
So
good.
this conversation has been kind of all over the place, but kind of fun. We'll
I
see.
learned all about the new hymns and I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
satisfied with the conversation.
Well, so this book that I'm going to send you. So the author's name is Brittany Hartley, and she was raised LDS, and then she deconstructed her religion. But she talks about like scientifically all of the things that religion does for our brain
Hmm.
that that we lose when we leave religion. And you've talked about this somewhat before, where we lose these major holidays. We lose our liturgical calendar, right? Because
Hmm.
a lot of our traditions are based around religion, and we
Hmm.
lose like our communities is a big one, and we lose
Hmm.
like some of these like the way that music like feeds our soul, and then we
Hmm.
don't have that outside, you know, or unless we find it, unless we create it for ourselves. And so
Yeah.
that's what her book is all about, is like intentionally creating all of these things in your life.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting because the music thing, it has helped me a lot to make my little joke about feeling the Holy Ghost. Like,
Hmm.
like if there's a good movie or like a good like part in a song or something that's like completely not religious, I'll be like, I got chills, that's the Holy Ghost. Like, you know, but it
Yeah.
is helpful because it does like feed my soul in the same way. Like there's definitely like music, especially live music I enjoy and like
Hmm.
it filling my soul that same way.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to acknowledge that and be like, oh, I'm feeling human right now. Like I'm feeling
Yeah.
attached to my humanity right now.
Right.
Like I was at the PWHL game. They
Hmm.
played at MSG and they sold out the stadium and it was the most attendees to a women's hockey game ever.
Hmm.
And it was just like so inspiring to be there. The energy was great. And like I definitely was like, oh, I'm feeling the Holy Ghost. Like,
Yeah.
so I do see the point of like intentionally finding those places. And I do miss like having live music every single week. Like coming
Mhm.
together with people and singing and having like those inspiring moments.
Well, and back to something I said earlier, I do think that we're all talking about the same thing using
Hmm.
different words,
Yeah.
right? That experience of feeling connected to something bigger and
Hmm.
feeling that like enlarge your soul, like whether we call it the Holy Ghost or whatever else you call it, I think we're talking about the same experience. And I
Yeah.
don't know, like I just wish we could talk about things like that more so we could not get so dogmatic about it.
Yeah.
Like
And I do,
this is what you are feeling and this is why you are feeling it, and kind of
yeah.
rather than just like really experiencing it for yourself and being like, oh, this is beautiful.
And I think that's why I have a lot of empathy for how religion has like grown and maintained power, is
Hmm.
because like when you talk to another human and you're describing this is the reason that happens, it's very nice to have an answer.
Yeah, yeah. This was the other thing that I wanted to talk about, is because I feel like we're in a process because all of my kids have left the church, right? And so we don't celebrate holidays the same way that we used to. But I do
Hmm.
think that it's important for us to continue to have traditions that connect us and to
Hmm.
have opportunities to celebrate important things,
Hmm.
whether that be spring or Easter or the renewing of life,
Hmm.
or the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I think,
Hmm.
but but I think that we have to be more intentional about it when
Yeah.
it's not handed to us like we're going to all practice it in this religious way, you know?
Yeah. Because if I think of every like holiday that we do practice, it's based off of a national holiday or a Christian holiday.
Hmm.
Like we have Easter and Christmas, right, are the big ones. And then Thanksgiving and 4th of July are like another two big ones that we
Yeah.
come home for or like get together to celebrate. And those are both around like, again, a myth about our country and about like who we are. And um I don't know. I
Sure.
that is really interesting to talk about. I don't necessarily want to replace any of them, but I do think
Yeah.
that the way that I celebrate them and intentionally celebrate them
Yeah.
is different.
Well, and I think just like in our family, like coming together to celebrate things, that
Yeah.
we need to be more intentional about it, and just something that I'm kind of thinking about that I would like to do better moving forward. Well, I gotta let you go, but
All right.
this was
Thank
a
you for
fun
talking with me.
conversation, even if it was rambly, and thanks for getting on. I love you.
I love you too.
Bye bye.
Bye.